Rural Lifestyle, brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick. In Wamego, just a short drive down the yellow brick road.
Good morning and welcome back to the show. We're at the 2013 No-Till on the Plains Conference at the Bicentennial Center in Salina, Kansas. David, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I thought I had a long drive in. Your arms must be tired.
Oh, yeah.
Seattle, Washington.
It's a long trip here.
It is a long trip. Dirt. Interesting title. Interesting information.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a story about how soil erosion has influenced human societies. And I know you're never supposed to call soil dirt, right? Which is exactly why I called my book Dirt.
Right. I'm sure it gets lots of people's attention. You sold out while you were here today, so
Yep,
I mean,
not taking any home.
Not taking any home. Don't have to pay the $50 baggage fees. There you go. And we were kind of talking off camera before we started the interview. It's strange how things have kind of evolved through time. How agriculture practices started thousands of years ago and where we're at today, and we still have soil erosion.
Yeah, soil erosion has been a major problem that's plagued human societies literally since the dawn of agriculture. The invention of the plow fundamentally changed the way that soil erosion happens on the surface of the earth. If you look at a native prairie, you look at a native forest, you go anywhere in the world outside of the deserts, you don't see much bare soil. There's not a lot of bare earth. And you can get enough erosion happening in a single cloud burst on a freshly plowed field that it undoes centuries worth of soil formation. And that imbalance between the rates soils are produced and the rates soils are lost is essentially a key element in the decline of ancient civilizations. That's the essence and heart of the book. The basic technology of agriculture hasn't changed that much in 10,000 years. Right. You know, the things that we pull plows around with have radically changed, obviously. Our technological sophistication. Bigger horsepower. Right. Sort of not so many horses, but lots of horsepower. Right. But the basic act of turning the soil as preparation for planting is a very ancient practice that, oddly enough, had within it the seeds of the decline of many societies due to the very slow erosion of soil that resulted from that practice.
And some of the research that you've done, I mean, were there people 1,000 years ago who were looking at soil erosion, or did they just till it, planted it, and harvest it?
Well, for the most part, most people were tilling, planting, and harvesting. But you can trace actually thinking about soil erosion as a fundamental problem for human societies all the way back to Plato in the 3rd century BC. He recognized the problem of soil erosion in the Greek landscape, in classical Greece. He recognized the Bronze Age soil erosion event that archaeologists have confirmed since then. So he knew what he was talking about. Right. And he's the first person that really formalized the idea that the way people take care of land sets how long the land will be able to take care of people for. And if you look at the history of Western civilization, from Mesopotamia, where agriculture arose, to classical Greece, to Rome, to Western Europe, to southeastern United States, it's a story of long-term farming, eroding and exhausting soils, and then a society moving on in search of fresh and productive soils. And the problem, of course, today, you know, despite how wonderfully productive American soils are, is that we have no new places to go to. We can't afford to repeat the lessons of history on the same ground because we can't move on. We have to get it right this time. So the problem of soil erosion is probably the biggest environmental problem facing humanity that we don't talk much about.
It's not a dirty little secret or anything. We just don't talk about it. I agree with you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, David, I want to talk about maybe the Dust Bowl and some of the other practices that have kind of shaped and defined where we're at agriculturally.
Sounds good.
You're watching Ag AM in Kansas, and we'll see you in just a minute.
Rural Lifestyle, brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick. In Wamego, just a short drive down the yellow brick road.
Thanks for staying with us, David. Thank you for staying with us. I know you got to catch a flight here pretty soon, so I appreciate the time you're giving to us. The Dust Bowl. Gosh, what a horrible man-made event that we had back in the 30s.
Yeah.
We're probably never going to get there again, or are we?
Well, probably not in the same extreme that we had in the 1930s. We had the confluence there of the fresh plowing of large parts of the plains, and in particular in the western parts of the plains. And we're probably not going to go back to something that bad. Although, you know, what's happening with the climate is something that people are actively arguing about, obviously, and you know, no one really knows what direction it's going to go. But if the forecasts for increasing drought severity are borne out, we should be worrying about trying not to repeat the Dust Bowl. And the real big problem with the Dust Bowl was that what was holding the soils of the plains together was the roots of the grass. I mean, that's what had kept it together for millennia through droughts that have been just as severe as the one that caused the Dust Bowl, but didn't actually cause any dust. So the idea of having plants on the land to hold the surface together is one that's been, it's a tried and true model.
Pretty successful.
It's successful. It's nature's model that worked, and then undoing that didn't work. So in planning for the resilience of farming in the Dust Bowl area, that's the first lesson we have to learn. So keeping cover on the ground. The ideas behind things like no-till agriculture can really be a big help in that regard.
And that's one of the things you talked about in the first segment is people move from place to place as agriculture starts to deteriorate in one area. Oklahoma was a perfect example. Everybody left and went to California, started farming in California. So people migrated away from farmland that was once rich and prosperous, then became dirt and dust, basically.
I mean, people's fortunes are based on how the land is able to treat them. I mean, it's a common element of almost every society. It's the one lesson we can't afford not to learn.
Research that you did on the book, how does no-till play in maintaining the topsoil that we have right now?
Well, essentially what no-till does is it leaves vegetation on the surface. It doesn't leave the bare surface vulnerable to erosion. So, almost every research project that's looked at no-till agriculture through the eyes of erosion has shown that it greatly cuts down erosion. And the compilation of data that I put together that I didn't actually include in the book, because you're not supposed to include graphs and charts and data in a popular book, but I wanted to do the science behind it to make sure the argument I was making was right, is that no-till can cut down soil erosion back to very close to the rate of long-term soil production. And if you think of soil as something that is produced, you got to weather rocks and mix it up with organic matter. It's sort of the mix of geology and biology. If you lose it faster than you're forming it, then you're in fact running out of it. It's no different than your bank account. Spend money faster than you make money, you're going broke. It's just a question of when. And what no-till can do is it can basically take erosion and bring it back in line with soil production. So it can also build up soil organic matter and help increase soil fertility over time. So the two big problems of maintaining agriculture over the long run, keeping the soil in place and keeping it fertile, no-till helps with both.
Well, and if anybody has a compost pile in the back of their yard, they know how long it takes for that to deteriorate and get to become dirt that you're able to use. So we're not talking about something that happens overnight. This is a year after year after year of conservation.
It's a sustained problem. Although living in Seattle, our compost pile becomes dirt real fast.
Exactly, lots of moisture.
We're not short of that.
Exactly. David, thank you for your time. It's very nice to meet you, sir.